Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Political Fixer Live. I'm your host, Shauna Presley Vircher, the Political Fixer, and we have a lot of stuff to cover. There's some crazy news. This is going to be a little bit of a dramatic show because we've uncovered a bit of a soap opera. Let's go through what we're going to be talking about on tonight's episode of Political Fixer Live. All right, well, we've got three stories we're going to be going over. Number one, we're going to be looking ahead to the military parade. That's right. If you haven't marked your calendars for June 14th, you're going to want to. We're going to tell you what is set to happen with this military parade. And then we're also going to tell you what we plan to do about it. What are we going to be doing on June 14th? I'm going to do that 50 times. I keep flipping January and June. Maybe because I keep thinking of him and thinking of January 6th. Anyway, so we're going to talk about what's happening on June 14th, and then we're going to talk about what you can be doing instead of watching the grown man play with his military toys. Our top story is just a soap opera worthy of a telenovela. We are talking about Swamp Force One, the jet from Qatar. I started digging into this story and it has layers and layers of corruption and dirt and bribery and intrigue. Oh, so many juicy parts to it. Why you should care that Qatar is offering him a nearly $500 million gift. And again, what we can do about it. And then we're going to end on a super positive note tonight. We're going to be talking about, don't worry about that other guy, 47. There is a new head of state, depending on who you ask, in the United States of America. We're going to talk about what happened and, again, why you should care about it. All right. If you are just joining us, this is Political Fixer Live. You can join us on TikTok. You can join us on YouTube at the Political Fixer channel. Just go to @Political Fixer on either one. And after the episode is over, you can get it at any time. Share it with your friends, slice it out, make me into a meme, whatever floats your boat at YouTube @Political Fixer. It'll be right there for you. And of course, the best part about any Political Fixer Live episode is making sure that you, the audience, gets to jump in with your comments, your conversation. You get to mix and mingle with the Political Fixer family here online, and we want to get your reactions to these stories. So that's super important. All right, we're off to a quick start. We see people jumping on. Let's dive into our top story. Now, there is a fun update that I'm going to share with you. We're doing a free giveaway with something here, so I'm excited to share. But let's get business done first. If you have not heard of this story, don't worry, there's so much news happening and it will never run out anytime soon. The 47 is planning a large scale military parade in Washington, D.C. This parade is set to be on June 14th. Why? Depends on who you ask. It is the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, and they were already planning to do a small celebration. It also happens to coincide with his 79th birthday. And I don't know if it's the exact day or near the day, but he has ordered the festivities to be enhanced. So he is requesting various military bands, over 6,600 soldiers, over 150 military vehicles, over 50 helicopters, and it's supposed to cost us over $45 million as taxpayers. Yay, parade. Why? Why do this? Well, it goes back to apparently 2017 when 47 was in France and he witnessed their Bastille Day celebration. And he was like, this is cool. I want one. And apparently he's been trying to do this for years and years with this vision of one of the greatest parades he's ever seen. He wanted to surpass it in size, featuring tanks and planes along Pennsylvania Avenue. Why is this a problem? Well, there's a few things. First of all, if you want to celebrate the military, we can have that conversation. So I don't know if it's a toast to all of the military jets that we've lost off of one of the aircraft carriers. And we're basically going to mourn all, not one, not two, not three, but four military jets that we have lost above aircraft carriers in recent weeks. Maybe we want to toast the defense secretary himself, Pete Hegseth. I'm all for saluting veterans and our men and women in uniform, past and present. But should you do it as it coincides with the sitting president's birthday? Or is this verging into tyranny territory? Is this something that's considered authoritarian? Um, so that's one thing. The other thing is kind of forcing, you're the commander in chief. And so anytime you ask the military to do something, you're not really asking, are you? You're commanding. And so commanding men and women in uniform to celebrate you and to do a parade that you've said is partially in your honor, a little bit of a conflict of interest. And then, of course, there's the resources. Should we be spending 45 million plus on a parade right now when we're not supposed to have more than 2 dolls and 5 pencils each? And then, of course, there's the fact that everything weird and, across ethical lines that he does, is he setting a precedent? Are we going to have governors that want parades in their honors? Are you going to have future elected officials expecting to spend taxpayer dollars on lavish birthday celebrations for themselves? Is this a slippery slope? So before we dive into how we're going to be answering this unique situation, I want to hear from you. We're talking about the 47 slash 250th military celebration of the Army, the military parade. My two questions to you. Do you think that it's okay because it's also celebrating the military? And then I guess my personal question to you, if you don't think it's okay for whatever reason, what worries you the most about it? The spending, the example, the authoritarian dictator weirdness, the fact that he's forcing men and women in uniform to celebrate him. Pretty messy. What is Pretty Messy Mom says, how about only the MAGAs donate money to cover the parade? Love that idea. Mary Ellen says it's actually 92 plus million. Mary Ellen, I have seen so many figures, and the reality is we're never going to know the real cost, are we? That's the sad thing. Melissa Tradewell says, not okay, very wasteful, narcissistic behavior. What are your thoughts? Do you believe that he should be doing this parade? And if not, what are possibly your issues with it? So Ness says, no, it's a waste of money. We're not Russia. KCMAD says, hell no, how ridiculous, right? Bren says it's authoritarianism, period. Lots of different opinions. As you guys keep that conversation going, let me tell you that there are already organizations that are coming together to do something to counter the parade. They're not talking about actually interfering with that particular festivity, but there are nationwide protests under the banner No King's Day. That's again No King's Day. And they're basically organizing across the country to show their opposition. Now, I just want to make everyone mindful of the fact that while I celebrate our ability to protest while we have it, just be mindful that if we gather and we're not 100% clear about why we're gathering, you do know he's going to say we're gathering to celebrate him, right? Like, just wanted to point that out. So make those signs very punchy. And remember, he can barely read. So, graphics and photos and designs would be best. All right. So Sunshine says, this is not our American brand. Feels like a dictator. I love that. I love the idea of talking about the American brand. We always talk about constitutionality, but you're right. The brand has been tarnished. Square Foot Gardening for You says, individual organizers have asked us not to go near DC. This is correct. Thank you, Square Foot Gardening. Not only are they saying not to go near DC because you want to look like you're participating, but it could also get dangerous. So there are going to be organizing and protesting in different areas, but specifically not near DC. Looking at Melissa Treywell's sign, and yes, I do agree. Your message is simple enough. I love it. Let me tell you what we are doing at the Political Fixer team. All right, so we didn't want to just kind of sit around and watch this happen. We want to turn this from a day of pomp into a day of consequence. So while 47 is playing with his parades, we will be organizing. We're going to be kicking off a lot of events over the next several weeks to culminate in the week of June 14th and beyond. And one of the things we're doing is we're going to be offering a free online training that day. And any of you or any of your friends, if you belong to different organizations, you can all participate for free. It's going to be an online training. You can register for free at politicalfixer.com. Politicalfixer.com. Kelly Frazier says, celebrate the military by putting veterans back to work at the VA. Such an excellent point, Kelly. That money could be saved to, save veterans' jobs also. Let me tell you what the training is about. So we have this training that we've been doing that we've modified in light of this new administration. And we call it the Political Fixer's Guide to Saving America. It's an instructional format on how politics and advocacy works, no matter how big or small you are in the whole space of things, whether you're an individual volunteer who's never gotten involved before, or you run a giant organization, or you're running for office. How did we get to this point? Giving some context and framework, and then what are some action steps that you can walk away to make sure to maximize your impact. We call it turning outrage into action. So let me give you a couple of key things we're going to be going over in the training. And again, it is free. You just go to politicalfixer.com, and on the homepage, you scroll just a little bit down, you'll see a blueprint image. And it says right there, register for the training. And there's a form right there. We'll send you all of the information. If you're going to be in the Tampa Bay area on June 14th, then you can also register to attend for free in person. So let me tell you what we're going over. We're going to learn the difference between launching a campaign and a movement, why you need to understand it, and what the key differences are. Why movements tend to be more successful, no matter how large or small they are, no matter if they are national, global, or local. You're also going to get a roadmap about how this works from the strategist perspective. I've studied this now for several years. And so I'll give you some kind of language, some guidelines, and kind of show you different movements at a glimpse and where they've gone really well and why some of them have gone sideways or reached a limit to how impactful they are. We'll talk about fundraising briefly. We could spend a whole day just on fundraising, but if you've ever wondered why your GoFundMe or your local community organization or even a campaign that you've been involved with, why they cannot raise money, we'll go through some of that and break those kind of sacred rules that people think they should follow, but it makes it a lot harder to raise money. We'll also learn how to generate media attention for a cause that you care about. How do you get people to talk about something when there's so much else going on that is taking up the oxygen on news, particularly in your local paper and on television? And then what the hope is that ultimately you're going to walk away with a strategic plan. Some things you're going to be like, oh, yes, I'm really good at this. I can do this. And hopefully we give you some new information. You say, oh, that's how you do that. And you walk away with a step-by-step plan of how you can greater impact whatever it is that matters to you. So whether it's a national big cause and you're trying to get involved online, a local coalition that you're a part of, or someone just wants to make a difference, large or small, any positivity matters. Okay. So Angelique says, this is cutting out. Will this be a video later? Angelique, if you go to YouTube at Political Fixer, the entire thing will be there. Thanks for letting us know. I'm going to ask my team really quickly to let me know in the chat. Are you all having technical issues with TikTok as well? I can see that YouTube's working fine, but let me know if there's any issues. I'm going to sit here and look at the team here. I don't see any notes for my team, so hopefully this is an issue that'll work itself out. Okay. All right. But if we lose you, Angelique, please go to YouTube at Political Fixer. All right. Veronica's saying she's not having issues. Sarah said she had issues and she had to come back in. The loveliness of technology. All right. So politicalfixer.com. Don't sit around watching democracy deteriorate. Let's do something about it. Let's get organized. And this is one way we're diving in. We're going to have a lot more information about stuff you can do no matter where you are in the world to create a positive change. And this training is just one of them. And we really hope to see a lot of you there. And again, please invite your friends or organize people to come over to your house or a coffee shop or maybe to get together in a local hall or something. The more the merrier. We will make sure that you have access to get in, and you won't need TikTok to access it. We're going to do the training on a platform that is readily available to everyone. All right, we are getting started with our content tonight. There's so many stories we want to cover. First, I want to thank so many of you for being with us tonight on Political Fixer Live. We are already at over 6,500 likes. That's amazing. And you, I think, are going to like this story in a weird way. This was a story that when I started looking into it, I didn't know what I would find. I didn't know if it's something that, yes, it's wrong, but how wrong is it? Why should we care? And the more I started digging, the more the layers of grime and grit started getting under my fingernails. Just so many twists and turns. I'm talking about the top story of the evening, the jet from Qatar. The jet from Qatar. All right. If you haven't heard about this story, then God love you, because I mean, that just shows you have a healthier, more balanced, more offline personality than I do. So I envy it. But if you haven't heard this story, then the Qatari government is offering and has already shipped over. It is already sitting on a tarmac in San Antonio, last time I checked, a $400 million plane that is supposed to be retrofit to become the official Air Force One. Now, there is a lot to unpack here, but the first question I had was why? I mean, is it a bribe? Yes, absolutely. Without a question, we're going to cover that. There's so many layers to this. Does he know that it's illegal? Yes. And there's a gotcha that I'm going to show you in just a second. But why do it? Where did this come from? It's so random. So, I have an answer for you. Get ready, kids. It's story time. All right. So, before I dive into this, I want to give credit to a website I found that is amazing for compiling research. It's a nonprofit organization based in New York called Just Security. JustSecurity.org is the website. You can go there and donate. You can read all of their information for free. It's not behind a paywall. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but they do anything on stories that they believe has to deal with national security. And obviously, they've been very busy as of late. So they put together sourcing and narrative timelines, and they really help regular people that are not experts on global security and military and things like that understand what the issue is. So I just want to credit justsecurity.org for being a nonprofit that's out there just screaming at the clouds for the rest of us to hopefully get educated, including myself. So let me take you in the Wayback Machine. In the Wayback Machine, way back, years and years ago, to 2007. The year was 2007. And Kushner Companies, that's right, Kushner, as in Jared Kushner, the husband of Ivanka, the daughter of 47, and rumored to feed off of women that he keeps in his floorboards. Just kidding, kind of. So, Kushner Companies, that was run by his father, Charles Kushner, they purchased a building. I cannot make this up. The address of the building, get ready for this, was 666 Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. 666 Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. There's going to be movies about this time later, and people are going to be like, that's not true. True. Okay, so they purchased the Devil's Building on Fifth Avenue for $1.8 billion, which at the time, $1.8 billion in 2007 was an insane amount of money. It was, in fact, a record price for a building at a time. And they invested in it, but they couldn't keep up with the rent, essentially. The financial note became more than they could handle. So in 2017, in April, Charles Kushner, Jared Kushner's father, went to people looking for money, looking for an extra $1.8 billion, as we do. Who among us has not been behind by a few $100 million or so? Okay, so one of the places that he asked was Qatar's finance minister at the time, Ali Sharif Al Amadi. Forgive me. Okay, I think you see where this is going, but oh my goodness, does it get juicy. So he goes to Qatar's finance minister at the time and he says, hey, I want a loan. Give me some money. I'll work a deal with you. And they say, no, you're a bad investment. So he gets upset and he goes to his son-in-law. And as the story plays out, he says, these people were mean to me and they would not give me millions and millions of dollars. Go be mean to them back. You work for the president. Do something about this, son. So, as apparently a Father's Day gift for Charles Kushner, Jared Kushner in June of 2017 goes around the defense secretary at the time and organizes a blockade against Qatar between Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Egypt. And this blockade interrupted their trade. It was a huge deal. It was disrupting the entire Middle East. And he did not go through the normal channels to do it. Now, it caused all of these problems, and Qatar knew what Jared was up to. This is reporting by Vicky Ward of CNN. She says, the Qataris reported that there were Saudi and Emirati troops on their border. And a source at the State Department confirmed this, saying that the Qataris said that they interpreted the presence as Kushner saying, quote, if you don't pay my father, the Americans are going to sanction an invasion of your country. So his father gets over his head with money. He goes to the Qatari finance minister and says, give me bunches of money. The guy says no, and Jared's like, fine, then I'll have them invade you. So now, this was 2017. You go to this point, and why are they giving us a $400 million jet? Because they've learned their lesson. You get more flies with honey than with vinegar, right? I see Sunshine saying, OMG, this was me as I was learning this story. Okay. So we're talking about the Qataris offering a new Air Force One of $400 million. We're going to discuss why we know it's a bribe, why it's such an issue that you should care about, and it's actually a security issue. But we're talking first about the why. We're covering a business deal gone awry where Charles Kushner, the father of Jared Kushner, was looking for a handout, a loan, whatever you want to call it, to cover a bad investment deal. He didn't get it. So Jared tried to have their country invaded. Okay, so what's going on now? Fast forward. Okay, so they're offering him a $400 million jet. He's saying it's not really mine. It's the whole country. Sure, you can't ride in it, touch it, or please don't stand near it, but it's for all of us. And to show you it's for all of us, the second I leave office, I'm actually going to transfer it over to my personal library so none of you can ever touch it. So that's how much it's for all of us. Now, right now, what's happening in Qatar is a new real estate deal. Eric Trump is the VP of the Trump Organization, and he right now has a new real estate deal in Qatar, a $5.5 billion deal. That $1.8 billion deal of Charles Kushner, that was a couple of decades ago. No, this one is $5.5 billion. It's, of course, going to include a golf course, high-end villas, and a theme park. So he's getting approval on this real estate deal. They're making themselves billions of dollars already. Conflict of interest. Don't worry. If you think this is a conflict of interest and they think it's a conflict of interest, there's a simple process for this type of gift. When you are worried about it, you just go to the Attorney General and you ask them, hey, is this a conflict of interest? And that's what 47 did. He's like, hey, Attorney General, is this a problem? And that brings us to Pam Bondi, former Floridian, always wanted to be beauty queen, not quite there, Pam Bondi. She is currently the Attorney General, and she says it's fine. There's no issue with him accepting this Qatari jet because it's going to be registered as Air Force One and then transferred to the library. So he doesn't personally get it. It's not going to him as a person, so it's okay. And the good news is we can trust Pam Bondi's judgment with this because she absolutely did not used to work for Qatar as a lobbyist for $115,000. Not $115,000 a year. You guys are crazy. $115,000 a month. A month. This woman was getting over $1 million a year from the Qatari government in the position she had before now. Veronica says corruption at its finest. Cynthia Fontaine, psychic medium, says biggest mob boss administration in history. Sarah goes, damn. Novia says you are kidding me. I've got some OMGs. Okay. Veronica says it is literally against the law. Yes, all of these things, right? We're going to talk a little bit more about what you can do, what's being done, but I got a couple of more soap opera twists and turns for you. Just a couple more. All right, first things first. Why should you care? Qatari's way over there. Many of you may not have heard of them. Maybe, like me, you had to make sure you were pronouncing it right. All of them acceptable responses. So, why should we care about a plane we're not riding in? Let him have his toys. That might be one reaction. Let me tell you why. The source is a huge problem. All right. It is a bribe. It means that they can influence, that they could come to him and say, hey, we gave you this gift. That means you owe us. There are laws on place that say literally congressional people should not even grab free meals from other people, much less tickets to things. I understand we're used to hearing about the people breaking those rules, like Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court justice. But there are laws on the books for a reason. And the reason is so people don't buy your influence with things besides cash, right? And it doesn't matter if it goes to you personally. Let's say that your kid needed tuition money and they got accepted into a college that you can't afford. Well, if someone else is writing the tuition check, they have influence over you. Even if you never touch the money, even if it's technically going to your kid and not you, there's a reason that these laws are so vast and widespread to say you're not allowed to benefit even indirectly from these types of gifts. Cynthia says Jimmy Carter had to sell his peanut farm, for God's sake. Yes. Alicia says Hillary had to give back a $400 necklace. Yes, all of this true. But there's also a problem that above the corruption, we have a safety issue. Okay. Let's talk about the safety of the plane itself. This plane is supposed to be Air Force One. It is military command center when he's up off there. If something happens down here and it's not safe to land, it's supposed to be safe for him to conduct all presidential business on this plane. Yes, it's going to be inspected by the Pentagon. What do we know that's built into it? What if it has a kill switch that makes it able to fall out of the sky? What if it has surveillance equipment? What if it can mess with the navigation systems? There's all of these safety issues with the plane itself and with our national secrets and anything that might be discussed on it. But also bringing up the point that one of you made, beside like about the brand, who is Qatar? And what are they accused of doing? I'm going to give you a quick rundown. They have been accused of backing extremist Islamic organizations. I need to say extremists. Not all Islamic organizations are extremists, but Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist group and labeled as such by many Gulf states and providing sanctuary by known figures that have been wanted in other countries. They have supported financially jihadist groups, particularly in Syria's civil war. They have accusations of funding extremist Islamic militias in Libya. And supposedly, Qatar was accused of paying up to $1 billion ransom to release different royals to Iranian-backed militias and Al-Qaeda affiliates. Okay, so we always talk about these big, scary terrorist organizations. They have allegedly been financing them for years and years and years. Let me read you this quote about how bad this is. This is a quote. I'm going to read it exactly. The nation of Qatar, unfortunately, has historically been a funder of terrorism at a very high level. We have a decision to make. Do we take the easy road or do we finally take a hard but necessary action? We need to confront Qatar over its behavior. We have to stop the funding of terrorism. That is a passionate statement. Would anyone like to guess who made that statement? It was on June 9th, 2017. That Qatar is a funder of terrorism at a very high level. Those remarks were made by, at the time, President Trump in the Rose Garden at a news conference. These remarks would normally, they're in the archives online, and I was able to go and find quotes from this. Normally, you'd be able to go to whitehouse.gov, scroll the archives, and read the transcript of that full speech, everything he has said about Qatar. But if you look at that page, oh, it's not found. It's been taken down. So the page where he, 47, made the remarks about Qatar funding terrorism, completely coincidentally, I'm sure, has been taken off of the website. So, no problems, nothing to see here. You keep your 2 dolls and your 5 pencils. He's going to ride around in a gift from a country that is accused of funding terrorism for decades. And you guys have nothing to worry about. Now, I have said many, many times that I am extremely frustrated by Congress's lack of action on many issues, but I will tell you, they're moving on this one. Schumer is blocking different judicial nominees. They are using procedural things to slow down any movement in the Senate. I know he could have been doing this the whole time, but credit where credit is due. And a number of not just Republican Congress people, but also Republican and also farther right commentators have voiced that they believe this is inappropriate, that it's a bribe, that we should not be accepting gifts from specifically from Qatar. People are starting to pay attention to this issue. Square Foot Gardening says for you, plus it says, she says it looks tacky. All right. So hey, Rachel brings up a good point. Says, I think it's going to end up being a Trojan horse situation and his greed will be his downfall. Angela V says, can't Congress refuse the funds to retrofit the plane? Technically, Congress can do a lot. And technically, this whole thing is supposed to go through Congress. Whether or not they will actually do their jobs is what we're waiting to see, right? So we're waiting to see, will they step in with the Qatari jet that is already in San Antonio? They're already planning on painting, Lord knows what it is, embossed with fake gold on the inside. It has mood lighting. Like, I can't express to you how tacky this thing has intentionally made to look, right? And Square Foot Gardening for you is like, where's the funding going to come from to retrofit this? That is a great point. Also, how are you going to retrofit this? Small point of order. You're supposed to also have a duplicate plane that looks identical. So if necessary, you can have a decoy. I mean, there are so many things. Now, Veronica's saying that with a GOP majority, doubting that anything's going to happen, you could be right. Listen, I'd be more surprised if something does happen by now, because right now we're all prepared and hardwired to be disappointed. But at the same time, they are coming forward and saying they have a problem with it. And he's getting defensive in front of news cameras, which tells me he's getting pushback behind the scenes. You know, we've fallen for this Charlie Brown football dance before. And every time they say, no, this is the time we're standing up to him. And I'll believe it when I see it. But meanwhile, what can we do about it? Well, someone brought up, I was seeing the comments go through, that this is exactly the type of behavior that got former New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez convicted. Forgive me, his wife has been convicted. I don't believe that he has received his conviction as of now, but he has definitely been indicted as in the middle of his experience of finding out, receiving gold bars, among other things, from an Egyptian government official. So there are a number of people. Is Kate 22 says that Pam Bondi should be taking this to Congress. Yes, and Schumer has called upon her to testify. Now, whether or not that will happen, Angela asked, does the GOP have a 2/3 majority in the Senate? No. So the Senate could do something to start to slow this down or to call this up. But again, what are the processes and procedures? How much of those processes and procedures will be ignored or shoved into a back closet? Who says Pam Bondi can be impeached by the House of Representatives? Okay, answers for you points out, but Mayor Adams got away scot-free. Okay, yes, but he got away scot-free because they were trying to use him as a tool with this administration to do their bidding. And so for those of you that didn't follow that story, Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, who's currently running for re-election, so be aware of that. So he was indicted for a number of different crimes, not the least of which was fraud and accepting gifts. And in that, and I've seen video clips, right? So this wasn't rumor or speculation. There's literally video clips of him receiving like envelopes of things. Okay. And so they had him kind of dead to right. And then this current Department of Justice, in air quotes, swooped in and said, hey, what if we made all of this go away as long as you do what we tell you to do? But then the judge ultimately overseeing the case said, listen, this is a miscarriage of justice either way, but I'm just going to go ahead and drop these charges so you can't use them to extort behavior that can hurt more people. So it was a messy and sordid situation. Yes, he technically got away with it, but because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a crime family that's running the country. Um, Greggy Poo says, why would we retrofit something with tax dollars that's only going to be used by him? I mean, I'm in favor of having working equipment for a sitting president, but there's a reason we use Boeing and they're specifically trained on how to make this type of aircraft. There's a reason that it takes years to make a new one. It's because it has a number of specific requirements for security for not just him, but for our entire nation. Because again, the number of people that are going to be boarding it, the conversations that are going to be had on the actual plane, but also the communications that go back and forth, the devices and the information they have on them that board that plane. There are so many reasons that we need to make sure it is secure for all of our benefit. Now, Sunshine asks a good question, which is this possibly a distraction from the Saudi trip happening now or El Salvador? You're asking a question that is valid. Let me share my personal opinion for what it is worth. Any of this could be registered as this brilliant strategy trick to get us to talk about something else. But in my opinion, I think he's very he's very just whatever's in front of him. He feels untouchable right now. And it's shiny. It's new. It's not that cruddy plane that he's flying with all these world leaders at these summits and everything, and he doesn't have the latest, greatest toy, right? It's shiny. He wants it. And so he said yes. And the news got a hold of it and they're talking about it. And it's a story that lasted more than one day. Do we have other issues that are pressing to talk about? Like the ICE kidnappings, like citizens that are being taken in the middle of the streets, like, I mean, they just said today that he lifted discussions on Syria after a conversation. He's getting bribery with Bitcoin in the millions and millions of dollars just to have a conversation with him. He's manipulating the stock market with tweets and buying and selling ahead of time with insider trading and sharing that information with God knows who else, right? There's so many scandals, right? And Alicia brings up anytime you're looking at one hand, you have to see what they're doing with the other hand. Absolutely. Right. So Greg says, so after he leaves, do we go back to the old planes? Who knows? But I would imagine we're going to have to get new everything. I'm imagining they're going to take everything in the White House that's not nailed down, and that we're going to need to get someone in there to sage and smudge that thing of all of the bad vibes. You're going to have to disinfect it from everything that's gone on in there. Not the least of which is if you all saw the headline of, RFK Jr. swimming in sewage water as his Mother's Day venture. Very weird. Took his kids and grandkids to go swim there to prove there's no such thing as germs, I guess. His Hollywood wife didn't join him. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot that we're going to have to sit there and disinfect, start it over, go through every nook and cranny of everything, and not just the physical things. We're going to have to go through the computer code and the systems and the rules and the processes and Lord knows, and the books. We are not going to know the depths of what they have stolen, taken, or ruined for years and years and years. So the offers to clear and sage the White House, you're going to need a team. You are going to need a team. Heather says you're going to need a Costco-sized box of Lysol. So Kelly says that the new Air Force One has already been ordered by Boeing, but it won't be done for a couple of years. Good. Maybe they can hold it, package it in bubble wrap or something for the next person. Maybe they can do that. So before we go into the next story, I share the Qatari story. First of all, I want to ask, did any of you guys know this Jared Kushner connection before now? I don't know all of the soap opera players. I really didn't pay that much attention in 2016 to 2020 to that. I was more focused on the social justice side and trying to help on like that community-based level. So I didn't really follow like who's who and who's related to who and who's got this, right? Cynthia knew, she says yes. Veronica says no. I did not. I mean, I knew that, you just look at Jared Kushner and you're like, ugh, right? At least, or is that just me? Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Again, he looks like he feeds off of unicorns. But like, did I know he was a bad guy? Yes. Apple not falling far from the tree, not a real shocker, but the direct tie to the Qatari government with the blown real estate deal, the alleged but substantiated threats, give this money to my father or else. I was not aware of how bad it was then. And, Veronica said she is sus. Christine asked a good question. Christine Green, are we doomed? Absolutely not. Listen, for any of you that like crafting or DIY projects, do I have good news for you? This is about to become the largest group project effort that we've ever seen in modern history, in my opinion. If you're asking my opinion, I think that right now our job is to stop the proverbial bleeding. We have got to get organized. We've got to get people trained. Again, if you're just joining us, we're offering a free training on June 14th. Go to politicalfixer.com to sign up. A free online training on how to get organized and how to make the most impact with your advocacy work, including specifics on media messaging, fundraising, and other tips. So that's June 14th. So go to politicalfixer.com. But between now and midterms, we need to be organizing, getting things together, and we need to be really looking at that date. I'm not saying local elections are not important. I'm not saying we won't do things at a state and local level also. But if we are going to put any guardrails in place, we've got to really focus on those elections and doing everything we can to try to stop the damage from happening. Then, as they're hopefully bickering and stopping him and having their tug of war, we continue to organize and we take back the government in 2028, right? It's a long project. And then the real work begins. Again, good news if you like projects. And that's when we get to build things. But I don't think we go back. I think if we're expected to do all of this heavy lifting, if we are expected to be the ones to clean up someone else's mess, if we are going to step in and fix what someone else broke or allowed to break, then we need to do so with a purpose. And that purpose is actually building it back better than it was, making sure that we are all included, making sure that we right some wrongs that have always been there, systemic wrongs. That's what we need to do. And that's going to take effort and our own blueprint on how to move forward. I don't think we're doomed. I think it's just not going to be easy. But the good news is, I think what's waiting for us on the other side is going to be a pendulum shift, right? I think there's going to be a swing of the pendulum, and we are going to go from the craziest, most chaotic, like meanest, most hateful regime that we have seen in our lifetimes and possibly well before, probably since the days of like an Andrew Jackson and stuff like that, right? So, way, way, way bad to, oh no, this is the new age. This is how we actually evolve, right? Sunshine says not all of us can march. The training's a great alternative on June 14th. Thank you, Sunshine. I was hoping for you to say that. I know that a lot of people are going to be doing protest events. I celebrate that. We will support that. We will amplify it. But for us, this was a way that we could give back, which is we're organizing different things that are, some are in person, and we're going to be coming to different communities across the country. If you want us to come to you, definitely go to politicalfixer.com and let us know. But this is a virtual event and anyone can participate. And if you miss this one, don't worry, there will be others. Okay, someone is asking about the ID situation. And one of the things that you're asking is about the real ID, what's happening with needing that ID, because the deadline passed. For those of you that haven't been following that story, let's do a quick update on that and air travel. We talked about that last week, and then we'll get into our next news story, which is a positive news story. Don't worry, we spent enough time in the swamp. So the real ID situation, there was a deadline that passed that said that you needed to get a real ID. So some clarification on this. First of all, they have been more lax on that passing of the deadline. So if you do not have a real ID, but you have something else that serves as authentic identification, a passport, your driver's license, and a birth certificate. Bring what you have. And there's websites. You can go to FAA.gov and or you can type in what do I need instead of a real ID. And I would just allow more time at the airport for what could be an additional security check. So that's the first update. The second update is you might have a real ID and not know it. It's not necessarily its own new ID that you go and stand in line and get. It's that many of the driver's licenses and other IDs have been updated to meet a certain criteria. And I'm not an expert, so don't trust me on just what I'm saying right now. But my layperson's opinion is that many of them have these little gold stars in a circle. So that's how you know it's a real ID. But again, don't just trust my word for it. You can Google your state and whatever ID you have. Like for me, I'm in Florida. So it's like, is my Florida's driver's license a real ID? And it'll tell you exactly what to look for. Okay. And the other quick thing that I wanted to mention is the FAA travel. So we mentioned what's going on in Newark with the air traffic controllers. This is going to continue to be a quagmire. For those of you that missed it a couple of days ago in the news or online, the Newark system fritzed out again and it went blank and there were some issues and this was just a couple of days ago on top of the two other times that there were known equipment failures, including the time that caused air traffic controllers to walk off the scene and request trauma leave because of how worried they were that something might happen during that outage. Okay, so what are we doing to fix the problem? Depends on who you ask. So former real world star and current FAA Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has said there's nothing to worry about except that this is a system that has been broken by Biden and Mayor Pete in the past, the former Department of Transportation Secretary. Newark is 100% still safe to fly, but he got caught this week rescheduling his own wife's transportation and booking her flight out of LaGuardia instead of Newark because of reasons he hasn't disclosed. This is not going to be a problem and it's all going to be fixed before you know it. But this is going to require years and billions of dollars worth of funding that he's taking in front of Congress. So depending on which day and which interview you catch him, either this is all going to be remedied shortly or we are completely screwed. So let me tell you, we talked about last time on this show what caused this situation. It is much more complex, as you would think, than bumper sticker, who's to blame politics. Air traffic controllers take months to train. They are talking about fast tracking that. But this issue of not having enough air traffic controllers is one problem. Having outdated equipment is another. So as of now, are things safe to fly? In many airports, yes, but some are perpetually understaffed, and Newark is one of them. So I would say, in all candor, I am not an alarmist, and I love Newark Airport. They have worked really hard to renovate it and to make it a tourist destination. It has come a long way in the last several years. That being said, the other day it was reported that they were supposed to have 40 air traffic controllers and they only had 5. So do with that information what you will and book accordingly or learn to love the road. All right. So, hey, Rachel says y'all have fun flying. I'm staying planted on the ground for now. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. But for those of you where that's not an option, just be safe and keep an eye on the news. And if you are young, you must be under 31 or you cannot apply. If you are under 31 and you've always wanted one of the most stressful but well-pensioned jobs in the country, apply to be an air traffic controller, please, because we need you. So if you're not that age and you have a son or daughter or grandchild that is, they must be under 31 and they are, I'm not kidding, taking applications right now for air traffic controllers. Okay. Let's talk about something that happened last week, but we weren't on the air, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it. We've been talking a lot about 47 and his nonsense, but does it matter? Because really, he's not the top American anymore. That's right. He's number 2, arguably on the world stage, someone much more important, no matter what your background or religious affiliation is, was just named as the head honcho. I am talking about Robert Prevost, who was named as the new pope. All right. Let's talk about that. Now, even if you are not religious, and it's fair to say you might be anti religious for a lot of different reasons, let me tell you a little bit about him and why you should care. And full disclosure, I'm not advocating or pushing for anyone's religious doctrine, but I do love it when something goes right for the good guys. Now, I heard an interesting summary of Robert Prevost and his beliefs, which was that he's not progressive on everything. He does, after all, represent an institution that is over 200 years old. However, he's kind of like a Biden in that way, where he's not where you want him to be on all of the issues, but at least from all accounts, seems to be a good guy, right? That's the best way I've heard him described. But let me give you a little bit of personal information about him, just a little bit. You may have seen some reports, but these are my favorite little tidbits that I saw that maybe you haven't seen yet. By now, if you have been following this story even a little bit, you know that he's on a mission from God. He is from Chicago, and the Blues Brothers jokes are possibly my favorite. His brother would like you to know that he is not a Cubs fan, he is a White Sox fan. That is such an American conversation to have in the press. He apparently has always wanted this. Everyone who the press has spoken to, early teachers, relatives, friends, have said that not only has he wanted this from an early age, he used to make his family and friends play Pope and pretend to give them communion wafers with cookies. These are stories that are coming out here. What I like about him is a few things. Number one, he's American, but he has an international sensibility and an international background. His father was a World War II Navy veteran who was French and Italian from his descent, and his mother was Spanish. He appreciates different cultures, and in fact, he has worked most of his professional career in South America. Specifically, he received a dual passport to Peru at some point. He also is someone who not only is a family person, but a community person. But one thing that has caught people by surprise is how modern he is in some of his communications. I want to share with you some of my favorite things that he has either posted or retweeted on his social posts to give you a bit of understanding. And then I'm going to tell you why I think you should care about Woke Pope, as he's being called, both affectionately and not. Okay. Um, One of the things that his most recent post before all of the popiness happened was when he shared commentary about the meeting that 47 had with the Salvadorian president about what they're doing with these immigrants in the detention centers in El Salvador. And he said, "Do you not see the suffering? Is your conscience not disturbed? How can you stay quiet?" So he has spoken out on this immigration issue. He also posted an article years ago saying why 47's anti-immigrant rhetoric is so problematic. Actually, this was when he was 45. So it was during his first term, why his anti-immigrant rhetoric is so problematic. He doesn't limit his views just to immigration, where he differs with this administration. He's retweeted a number of statements on gun violence, including sharing a statement from Senator Chris Murphy, which said, "Your cowardice to act cannot be whitewashed by thoughts and prayers." Now, those were not the Pope's words. He was sharing those words about gun violence. He also specifically called out the vice president, JD Vance. And when Vance posted something that was an article about saying that it was more Christian to first love your family, then your neighbors and your fellow citizens, and lastly, the world, Prevost, now Pope Leo, said JD Vance is wrong. Jesus doesn't ask us to rank our love for others. But my favorite thing that made me feel like he's one of us in a weird way was a quote from a Facebook discussion that he got into. And I want to thank London BYU fan on Blue Sky for sharing this and bringing this to my attention. One of his presumed relatives, because she's named Deb Prevost, so he has a relative named Deb, and she was apparently posting all kinds of stuff that was anti-Kamala Harris, and he's on Facebook reposting things with Snopes and fax links and trying to get her to see the light of day. So he's arguing with his crazy MAGA relatives just like the rest of us. Okay, so if you're not Catholic, if you're not religious at all, I guess my first question is, Did you care? Did you follow the Pope story? Did it make you happy? Did you not look at it? Did you read the stories because he's from America? Did you feel like, well, I'm not Catholic, why should I care? Did you follow what was going on? So while you guys are answering whether or not you saw the Pope festivities and what it meant to you, I would love to know what it meant to you. Let me tell you why I think this is important for all of us. First of all, for the first time in a long time, even though technically this administration has not been in power for long, it does feel like the United States is in the news for something positive. And going back to the person that talked about the brand, it's nice to be elevated for that reason. It's also nice that if you look at the two most famous figures in the world who represent this country, that at least one of them notably cares about the poor, about immigrants, about human dignity, about kindness. Divine AF Girl says, I'm not Catholic. I think he's pretty awesome. Um, Cynthia brings up a good point. She said she was scared to follow because if we didn't get a woke pope, it would go very dark. I agree. Jess says, yes, the last pope was inclusive and loving. I'm so relieved this one seems to be too. Mindy says, let me scroll down. You guys are going so fast. So excited by the choice, and I'm not religious. Ayana says, I'm spiritual, and I followed and felt tremendous joy when he became pope. Liz says, I was raised Catholic, but I'm not religious. I am about God and Jesus. That's a great way to put it. And hey, Rachel says, my MAGA aunts are all Catholic. I love that the Pope can tell them, give me a break. Oh, that's so funny. Sunshine said, this is very powerful. I'm not religious. He's fighting out of the gate. Square Foot Gardening for You says, I watched everything because I love a lot of what Pope Francis did and wanted to see some consistency. Kelly Fraser says, I did follow it. I'm not Catholic, but I have huge respect for the position and how he can guide the world. The other thing to kind of understand is that what's happening right now goes well beyond our borders. Our news is being watched by so many countries. In fact, our news is arguably shaping many countries. I could argue that the bend backwards against what's happening with this regime has influenced Australia's elections, Canada's elections, and might impact the UK government and beyond. People are watching us. And so to watch another figure who's going to help hopefully show the arc of morality and justice in a different way, the alternative could have been devastating. It's nice to have someone that is out there with a megaphone as loud and big as his that can say, wait, that's actually not how we should be treating people. That's actually not how we should look at this issue. He is particularly passionate about also the environment, and that's going to be important to all of us. I also feel like anytime something is positive and good and we can find a light, you can also find negative. He's not exactly going to be pro-choice, right? But I gotta say, he did at his first service after becoming the Pope officially. There's like readings that happened, and he got to help select who some of those readings were by. And for the first time, they had women. So I feel like, it's a very large, very solid organization that is very steeped in its ways. I will take incremental gains. Right? User 216 says, I'm hopeful that Pope Leo follows Pope Francis's teachings. Plus, it irritates MAGA, so that's the icing. Cynthia brings up another good point. You've got Musk in over 13 countries and counting, and their governments trying to meddle in their affairs. It's nice to have someone out there positively meddling, right? In a good way. I also feel like sometimes we struggle as whether you consider yourself moderate or progressive or liberal, whatever you would consider your persuasion to be. I feel like sometimes people think there's this group of people, or you can be Christian and conservative. And I feel like having a religious figure put what's happening in that type of framework, in that type of messaging, and try to bring people who have actually read the Bible and know anything about Jesus and his teachings, or anything about the kindnesses of the Jewish faith or the Muslim faith or the Hindu faith. Like anyone who's actually studied any of these texts and knows what's actually going on there, he can help put some context from his teachings and his religious framework that hopefully we can all use to try to reach some of these people that feel like they only have one home if they go to church, right? So that might be beneficial. Just says, yes, bridging the gap is so important. All right, so we've talked a little bit about the Qatari jet scandal, and we have discussed what's happening with that soap opera, and we're going to see if he gets away with another one. And if not, then I would just advise any of you, if you get an invitation to fly on Air Force One, my advice is to politely decline. So we'll see how that goes. We also talked about his planned military/birthday parade on June 14th. And to counter that pageantry, we are actually going to be spending the time organizing. If you would like to go to an organized event, there are events called No Kings, and you can check out different websites such as Indivisible and go to a protest event. The Political Fixer team will be hosting free online trainings as well as other events in the weeks leading up to and the week after that you can participate in from anywhere in the world. You do not have to be in the United States. They're 100% free, and you can go to them if we are in your area. If we're not, reach out to us. We'll see how many of you we can get to. But on June 14th specifically, we will be in the Tampa Bay area. You can come personally, or you can register for free at politicalfixer.com. Politicalfixer.com. Just scroll down on the homepage a little bit. You'll see that little blueprint image, and you can register for free. The training will hopefully give you more tools, tricks, and techniques, including messaging, fundraising, organizing, and a little bit of context as to how we literally got here and what brought us to this point that will make you empowered, I hope, to do even more great things moving forward. So I feel like Jess is saying that there's protests in every state. I also want to discuss the fact, okay, 50, I can do it, 5051, I got it. 5051 and Indivisible are all using nokings.org. Thank you, Square Foot Gardening, for you. Okay, so on the last episode, we also shared with you that one of the steps that we're taking to fight back over the next several months and beyond, and specifically with a focus of organizing, training, recruiting, whatever we can do, and then also advertising, getting voter turnout, etc., for the midterms, specifically for the midterms. I know it seems like a lifetime away, but we got to start getting ready now. Is that the Political Fixer team? We have launched our own PAC, our own political action committee. It is a super PAC, and we will be raising funds and running our own ads and using a healthy portion of those funds to come into communities and offer training, resources, and even fundraising for local groups, because we need to get you what you need to be successful. That is a huge focus we have over the next several months. And so you can learn more about that by watching these videos, following me on different platforms at Political Fixer, or you can see the new website is up. It's politicalfixerpac.org. That's politicalfixerpac.org. And we're going to be utilizing you all for your knowledge, what's happening on the ground, amplifying your work as well. Hey, Rachel says she wants to help. Sold. Absolutely. Yes. Hey, Rachel. Yay. Square Foot Gardening says the PAC is so exciting. Awesome. Sarah is sharing the website. And so there's going to be opportunities for you to volunteer at every different level, but also to help shape the messaging. Tell us the issues that you are focused on, materials that you need, everything that we offer for social materials, downloadable flyers, talking points. All of that is free, and we want you to use it, slap your logo on it, share it on your own social, and in fact, you can generate revenue if you want to by working with the PAC. All of this stuff is completely free, and if you prefer, we can also get sponsors or donors and try to come into your area and do more personalized events with your organization. If you're a local county party, then I, as the Political Fixer, the person, can still come in and train, not affiliated with the PAC. If you have a different group of friends that you want to get together, or maybe you want to host something in your area, let us know. This is going to be a big project. We have other big projects, as some of you know, that we've been working on, but this is important. And we wanted to have a vehicle where your voices could be reflected. So definitely tell us what you're thinking is going to be on what you need to see, what issues, and watch for more information over the coming weeks. Right now, two big things. You can register for the first training. That is June 14th by going to politicalfixer.com. And you can learn more about the PAC mission and what our values are by going to politicalfixerpac.org. All right. We have Per Mom sending tons of gifts. Let me see what else we've got. I know Sarah's been giving out. Let me give some shout outs here to Eddie TG, Veronica Kennard, Vivian Hadley, Divine AF Girl, the Angela V. Welcome, Angela V, to this political subscription family. And we've got a number of different questions. I want to make sure that I get these questions. Okay, comments on earlier stories. Square Foot Gardening for You earlier was mentioning the military parade and wanted to point out that we need to say that, yes, it's his military parade, but we don't want to forget the fact that it's actually to celebrate the Army's birthday, the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. So that's something to keep in mind. And also, we want to make sure that as we're talking about stuff, another thing that I've seen is instead of posting on social media about it and saying, oh, I can't believe he's doing that, that we want to make sure that we drown it out with more positivity. Or if you can't think of anything positive to say that day, just post photos of Obama. It'll drive him nuts. So there's so much that we can do to annoy him during his own little birthday celebration. Referring to it as the 250th Army celebration is one. Getting involved in some other type of activism, whatever fits your needs, is another. And then, of course, when all else fails, do things to annoy him. So, all right, this hour has flown by. If you missed anything, don't worry. You can go to YouTube at Political Fixer on our channel, and this will be posted for you shortly after it airs. They post it automatically. And I want you to mark your calendars for next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be back here, same bat time, same bat channel, talking about whatever the chaos tornado gifts us with next. In the meantime, let me ask you, did you learn something tonight? I did. I learned something. I did not know most of that stuff about Qatar. And for those of you that may have missed the story, I'm going to spoil the ending for you, which is I didn't realize until today that he himself said they funded terrorism, and the article on the White House website that proves this has been removed so he can accept his pretty present. I didn't know that much about our new Pope. Whether you're Catholic or not, he's the world's new Pope, Pope Leo. I've learned some great things about his personality, and I'm learning some fun things about his family. And I'm learning that it really helps my blood pressure when I take steps in a positive direction rather than focus on something negative that I can't control. So then that spirit of things, I hope that many of you will be able to join us on June 14th for the training. And I hope that if you have other things that are going on and other ways that we should be getting involved in your community, or we should be amplifying the work that you're doing, that you will definitely let us know. In the meantime, I want to thank our Political Fixer team. We have Sarah and Eddie and Jay Robot. We have Candace and Brittany and Heidi and so many others. Thank you to all of them for making this happen. Thank you to all of you for over 64,000 likes. We almost had 65,000 likes. That's amazing. And in the meantime, until next week, I really hope that you take care of yourselves and you take care of each other. I'm going to be trying my best to do the same. Thank you to everyone. Good night, Willow and Vivian, and so many of you. I really appreciate you. I hope you'll join us next week. I'm Shauna Presley Vircher, and I'll see you all soon.